We're live.
We're live.
Football
Wow, we are live.
What's up, guys?
The first time doing this live.
Right now.
Raiders.
How many fans do you have on your Twitch?
Like 4.
Nice.
No idea.
Almost as much subscribers we have on YouTube.
I think it's like you two are part of my followers too on
Twitch.
Yeah. So like half of them are already here.
Cool.
Let's go ahead and recap week 1 of the fantasy. First off, let's say our records. Joey, you are
get in the camera, bro.
Let's skip this part. This is keep going.
I want to know.
Joseph, what's your record following?
I had a pretty bad week. I had Tannehill on my team. I had Elliott, Robertson, Ridley. So obviously,
we'll touch on those guys this episode.
Yeah, we'll touch on them later.
I actually wanted to bring up some of the studs and duds of week 1, and me and Joey actually. I think he scored the most points week 1.
I did.
And I scored the second most points.
Yeah.
And your team was the duds, Joseph.
It happens though. It happens. I wouldn't be shocked if I finished the lowest point total this next week anyway.
Well, now we have high expectations for next week. You know.
You can't go anywhere but up. So
exactly.
You can't get any lower.
You can't come back if you're never down.
So let's run through a list of names that did really good and some did really bad, and then you can say if you're a believer or a non-believer in those guys. Anyone from the quarterback position that you guys believe in or not believe in?
Let's talk about Jameis.
Yeah, I'll talk about Jameis.
5 touchdown passes, less than 150 yards passing though. Like I think he's the only quarterback.
20 passes.
But he also passed for less than 150 yards. I think that's like the lowest passing yards total for a 5 touchdown score in a week. I don't think that's ever happened.
So are you a believer or a non-believer?
I'm kind of bullish on Jameis. I have him in a dynasty league. I mean, that's like not saying that like I believe in him long term. It's more just like along the lines of like I got him at value, and I'm a ride him for this season. I also have Justin Fields in that league, so we'll see what happens there. But I like him this year. I think the LASIK surgery might have helped him. Maybe that's probably why he kept throwing to the other team because he couldn't see. I don't know.
He didn't throw any
LASIK Jameis.
Yes.
See where it goes.
LASIK Jameis.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I think I need to see more. Like
I agree with that.
Defense put him in really good position.
Short field
a lot. Yeah, and so he was able to throw a couple touchdowns. He actually did throw an interception, but it was called back, and it was actually a pretty bad interception.
It was nullified.
So,
yeah, that's true.
I do need to see more. He plays the Panthers next week, and that's a pretty good defense. They're gonna kick his butt a little bit, and we're gonna see what he's really made of. So I'm gonna wait on
the Panthers. Had a good defense. I mean, besides their Super Bowl.
You saw them last week. I know it was the Jets, but
it was the Jets, bro. Come on, rookie.
They're like the third leading defense in fantasy.
How about Jalen Hurts, who had a really good game versus the?
I'm in on Jalen Hurts. I think
he's just tooting his own horn. That's on his fantasy team.
Yeah. Oh, he's on Brian's fantasy team.
He's on Brian's team.
That was a guy who a lot of people had questions on going into the season.
Well, I did, and I think I think that's one of the things. I guess I think during our recap show, our grading show, I think I called him out on just like jury's still out on him. Does the team still believe in him? And I think they do, and I think the pass catchers actually surprised more than I expected. Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor taking a screen to the house. I also kind of want to see more from him, but he definitely has the ability to finish in the top 5 at the position just because of his running ability. And I want to see him do well because he's been so underestimated and then like shit on it everywhere he goes. I mean, he was the guy pulled at the national championship at halftime for Tua. So
I mean, he was playing horrible that game, though.
It was, but at the same time, like he's been knocked down and he continues to bring himself back to prominence, and I root for that kind of a guy. So I root for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's go to some of the running backs. I think Zeke, everyone still believes in.
Yeah.
Well, I'm firing him up this week. Yeah.
Yeah. How about Aaron Jones? Are you a believer or a non-believer?
Oh, man, they're going to shit on the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, he's going to have an amazing game next week against the Lions. It's going to be crazy. I mean, last week he was one of the jabronis because of the New Orleans defense. It was tough. They had to pass the ball. Nothing worked. but they're gonna let loose, and I feel like, I mean, even Aaron Rodgers. If we're gonna speak about the duds later on, but Aaron Rodgers is gonna let loose as well. I'm in it for the Packers offense.
What do you think about his demeanor though? Like that was a little concerning. Like his demeanor throughout the game was just like he just did not care. Like
I hope it's not like that all year because that's
the scary part. And against a team like Detroit is a very good barometer of like his attitude towards the season and towards the team. If you see that attitude again, you know it's definitely panic time. But I'm with you against a team like Detroit. I mean, they should blow them out. Hopefully they don't give up.
I think they're gonna have a good fantasy day, the Packers. But would I be too crazy to say the Lions might pull the upset this game?
No, I don't think.
I mean, is that crazy?
I think that's crazy. Yeah,
I don't think it's.
I mean, you were pulling for them to beat the Niners last week.
Well, I don't think it's
crazy.
I don't think it's crazy because we all thought Jacksonville was going to beat the Texans, and Texans being the old Jets, and they're the ones that dominated the whole game. So I think anything can happen. But I expect Rodgers, you know, the reigning NFL MVP, and the also, you know, one or two plays away from being the NFC champs and representing the NFC in the Super Bowl, to come out and dominate. But we'll see.
I'm calling it now. Lions. Oh, 1 second, Brian. Lions 38, Packers 35. You heard it here first.
If that happens, I'm just saying I might have made a bad trade for Aaron Jones just because like I don't know if this team is going to be.
He'll have a good game.
And by the way, so yeah, I did make a trade for Aaron Jones.
Here we go.
I made a trade. I threw out an offer. He was saying he's on the block. I had to do it. Gave up my guy Chris Godwin and Nyheim Hines, and he wanted to give me Brandon Ayuk. And I think Brandon Ayuk. You're here to hear first too. I think Kyle Shanahan is just. Put him in the doghouse for 1 week, and he's going to be wide receiver 1 on that team. Mark my words here.
He's definitely in the doghouse, but the question is for how long? How long? And you know what happened to Dante Pettis a few years ago? Same thing. Dante Pettis
is not a Pettis guy.
Hold on. Hear me out. Dante Pettis had a great year the year prior, and the next year, Shanahan put him in the doghouse, and he never came out of the doghouse. He was just here and there.
I understand.
Shanahan actually, I think, came out earlier today and said he better start beating out guys behind him because they're playing better than him.
I heard the
wide receiver's name was like Trent or some shit like that.
Trent Sherfield, yeah. The report today I heard it was that he just needs to be on the field because his hamstring has been costing him time to beat the players that have been playing better than him. So, like, injury time has cost him that, but he's also got to learn to be a pro because he missed curfew, and I think that was the reason for the doghouse. But
one of the reasons, actually, Mitchell, running back on the Niners, I feel like if it was any other team, I would have put like all my fab money on him because when it comes to waiver wire, if you can get a starting running back on the waiver wire, like to me, it's like you wait for this opportunity and you go all in. But I feel like because it was the Niners and like how often he just randomly starts like someone else and who you're expecting, I'm like, I'm not going to deal with it.
Well, Trey Sermon's now number 2. He's not going to be inactive this week. Like he's number 2, and he was number 1, or no, actually no, he was number 2 behind Mostert since May, up until this past week, which is a little weird. But now he's back in number 2, and I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't be shocked if Trey Sermon ends up taking majority of the carries this week.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Fantasy Focus podcast? Matthew Berry, did you hear like his epic rant one time against like Kyle Shanahan?
I don't know.
You mean Alfred Morris?
Yeah, where like he was down like 0.4 points.
1 point. Like 1 point.
Yeah, and then like Alfred Morris was like, who was the starter? It wasn't Morris. It was like
someone else. Morris. It was Morris.
Who did he put in?
Mostert.
Yeah, so Morris got like the first carry of the game, and like he won the game. It was over. It was like the first carry. All of a sudden, it was like a holding call. So like he went back down to being down 0.4 points, and all of a sudden, Morris didn't get a carry for the rest of the fucking game for whatever reason it was.
That's pretty scary, but it's good for me because I have Sermon. So hopefully that happened to Sermon. I think I heard a rumor that it was just they missed the curfew in Detroit, and
so both of them
Ayuk
did.
And Sermon.
That's why.
I'm sorry?
They both missed curfew because Ayuk was rumored to miss curfew too. So these two knuckleheads are the ones going out.
Yeah, but Ayuk played though, didn't he?
You got punt return duty only. That's why I'm just saying, like, it's weird. Like, if you put him in the doghouse but yet he's also unhealthy, like he's got a hamstring injury, but you put him on punt return.
This is why I
like,
offered Adam. This is why I offered Adam those bullshit fucking trades, because he makes decisions like this. A guy literally didn't play game one. He's like, I'm sick of this guy. I'm trading him. I'm like, he didn't even play. Like, you didn't even give him an opportunity.
He might have insight that you don't have. Who knows?
Well, you know what? I got CMC and Aaron Jones now, so let's just play with that.
All right, let's get the ball rolling. What's next? Who's next, Brian? Anybody else we want to mention?
Jamal Williams.
Oh, Tyson Williams. What do you guys? I want to hear you guys' take on Tyson Williams. I know my take. I'm high on Tyson. Brian, what's your take on Tyson?
I got a snap for you though after this.
He's a high end RB2. I think he's like a high end RB2.
I think Latavius
crazy thing was, I think Murray actually had like 10 carries though.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to say. Out of 35 out of 68 snaps, Tyson Williams played, but in the second half, after he missed, I believe, a pass pro, a blitz, Lat Murray out carried him 10 to 9. But also throughout the third quarter, it was actually after the third quarter, it was mostly Lat Murray the rest of the way. So
yeah, for a guy who's only been there for a couple of days and he has 10 carries. I mean, we'll see. And Bell, I'm sure once he is active, he'll start getting a little bit of carries too.
But I will say the eye test, after being there live, the eye test, Tyson Williams looks like a good back and he can be productive.
Oh, yeah, you were there, huh?
Lat Murray looked slow. Like, he hesitated in the holes. He didn't get right through the lane. He was
to me, Tyson looked way better, more fluid.
Yeah. I hope Tyson keeps the job. I hope he does. I want to see the kid do well. Lat Murray he's the vet, so he understands what he needs to do in there, and Tyson Williams just doesn't yet.
Would you start him next week over?
The Ravens lost like a starting guard today or yesterday or some shit. Who's out?
I think it was Tyree Phillips. Well, the Raiders lost. A lot. I think the Raiders lost a lot more. They lost Denzel Good out for the season. Gerald McCoy, perennial all-time Pro Bowler or 5-time Pro Bowler or whatever. He also got out for the year, amongst others. So it was a pretty. I saw 3 carts go out in that game. It was a lot of injuries, unfortunately.
Jeez.
Yeah.
How about Jamal Williams, who's ranked number 2 right now in fantasy?
I was going to mention him next. He's that was pretty intriguing.
We talked about this pre-show.
Yeah.
I think it's 3 people in that offense. We all know.
The crazy thing is, I think the top 3 guys in targets in that offense was Hawkinson number 1, Swift 2, and Jamal Williams number 3. So they're actually getting more targets than the wide receivers. Based on
I think that's how it's going to be moving forward. I think Jamal Williams and Swift are going to be involved. And of course, Hawkinson is the number 1 guy as far as target goes. I don't think Jamal Williams is going to have these crazy games like he did last week against the Niners, but he's someone that you definitely want on your team and probably worth starting in some leagues, in deeper leagues.
He's a flex guy. I mean, I think you can definitely be a flex guy for sure.
100%. I agree with that. Guess how many plays they ran in that game, the Lions?
Just
overtime.
I want to say like 80?
92.
I was just saying
92 plays. So yeah, obviously you're not gonna expect them to put 92 plays up there, but I still, and also with Jamal's time with the Green Bay Packers, he was very productive as Aaron Jones handcuff and backup. He played a lot of run, got a lot of run every game. But Swift had 63 of those 92 snaps, 46 routes run on 63 dropbacks. That's 73%, 55% of the carries, and also 55% of the targets. This is DeAndre Swift. That's a 19.2% target share. Not to say that I'm bringing Swift stats because I don't have Jamal stats handy, but I'm just letting you know that he's still got almost half the damn carries and routes.
I saw it.
So that's the point there. That's the point. So there's a lot of good fantasy stats to be there.
Who would you start, Jamal Williams or Tyson Williams?
You got to play. Yeah, I think you can play them both. I mean, if you only had one spot, I mean, it depends on the matchup. I would just go matchup wise. But I would say regardless of matchup, I would probably go with Jamal because of his track record with Green Bay and him being productive regardless. And on a team where they're going to be behind, and he's going to be a valuable pass catcher too.
Yeah, I'll go with Jamal just because of the pass catching. It's funny when me and Yosef was talking about trying to trade for Aaron Jones. Yosef was like, "Who'd you offer?" I was like, "Oh, I offered Jamal Williams." He's like, "Why would you offer the backup to Aaron Jones for Aaron Jones?" I'm like, "He's on the fucking Lions. Like, what do you?"
Who said this?
Yeah.
Who said this? Who said
He
this?
is a backup. He is the
Oh,
backup to
Yeah,
No,
Swift.
not
but you
to Aaron
said, "Why
Jones
would I trade the
anymore.
backup of Aaron Jones for Aaron Jones?"
Oh, I
I'm
said
like,
that?
Yeah,
No, I
that
did.
was
I
you
said
or
the backup
Andrew.
to Swift.
No, man. I have the message.
No, that's what I meant. I'm like, you're trading a backup for a starter like Aaron
But he
Jones.
started the game, so technically, I mean,
Well, yeah, we don't know like how the depth chart's going to change or not. But I mean, even though as the backup for the game, Swift still had more carries, more targets, and stuff like that.
How about Calvin Ridley, who was supposed to be the next wide receiver to kind of blow up?
Well,
Uh-huh.
I will say that I was a little lower than the consensus across the whole industry and on this podcast. I've only rated him a couple spots lower than most. It's only 1 week. I still think he's a target monster. I think it's him and Pitts. But I think I don't know. I think just this is the year to prove it, to where you don't need a receiver like Julio to kind of be the guy. But we'll see. I know Julio was out a lot and he still was productive, but there was times where he disappeared. So we'll see.
I still like Ridley. He had 8 targets. He's still involved. He got really involved early, and I don't know what happened, but they just the game plan got away from them, and they started to scramble, and they just looked horrible on offense.
But they ran the
line,
ball. They were running the ball a ton. Like, why?
Yeah, they have Arthur
Oh,
Smith now. Yeah,
that's part of that's part of the reason. It's a total different.
that's kind of
play call.
scary. It's kind of scary, but also their
That's
offensive
another
line
reason.
looked horrible. Their offensive
Yeah,
line
their
looked bad, so they need to shape that up. They got Tampa next, who has a great defensive line, so that's kind of scary. But if they can get rid of it fast, like the Cowboys did, and get it to the receivers, that could be good for Ridley. So I'm actually looking for a bounce back game for Ridley, and I still think he's going to be a top 5 receiver. I'm going to say top 5 receiver,
Wow.
and by the end of the year.
I think you still start him if you have him, but I just think managing expectations of him being like a dominant guy. I mean, he's going to have his splash weeks for sure, but you're also going to see weeks like this.
Yeah, it's not that easy. Like a guy who goes from like number 2 wide receiver and now he goes to the number 1 wide receiver because you're getting number 1 corner now. We saw Juju try to do it when AB left, and he didn't live up to par. It's funny because Yosef drafted Juju that year, and now he comes to Ridley.
Hey, but we saw Ridley. We saw Ridley before be productive without Julio, and we saw it last year.
There's time, yes, but there's
I think
also
it has a lot to do with Arthur Smith and the offensive line now.
I think it's adjusting to this new system and play calling, and the fact that they are going to run the ball a lot more than they have in years past.
Yeah, I think so too. I think even like Hayden Hurst like played like okay with Kyle Pitts. Like I don't even think like Kyle Pitts got so many targets. I think like they kind of spread the ball around in that offense.
We had almost 23% of the targets, Kyle Pitts, 71% of the snaps, routes run on, 90% of the pass attempts. He was in the slot 23 times and split wide 14 times, so they're moving him in and out. It was tied for the team lead with 22.8 target for the target share. That was with Calvin Ridley. Mike Davis usage, 62% of the carries on 54% of the targets, 76.8% snap share. They're using him a lot. I guess he's supposed to be the Derrick Henry in this offense.
How about Sterling Shepard this week? He had 24 fantasy points, apparently.
I think it's a what do they call it? Trap.
Yeah,
that's definitely a trap for me. Any Giant player is a trap. I mean, we see this for Sterling Shepard every year. He has 1 or 2 great games.
And
I'm not fine
get a
for
concussion after, so it's unfortunate.
Yeah, he's injury prone as well.
Very.
And then we also have Christian Kirk. What do you guys think about Christian Kirk's 24-point game, 2 touchdowns?
Frustrating. Go ahead.
I was actually thinking about picking him up.
Really?
He played the slot. He actually played. He got more snaps in the slot more than Ronald Moore. What's the rookie's name?
Rondale.
Yeah, Rondale.
He had more snap. He had more.
Rondale.
He had more routes run. But I think he was on the field a little bit more than Rondale. Anyway.
Yeah. I actually like AJ Green too, even though they also released him. I was even thinking about picking him up. Like he got a good percentage of the targets.
Yeah, but he looked the worst out of the 4 receivers.
Oh, for
I
sure.
mean, you got Kirk, Ronald Moore, Hopkins. I mean, Edmonds gets targets. So I think he's like the 4th or 5th guy on the team. So I wasn't willing to keep him if he's going to be like that. I'd rather get a guy like Emmanuel Sanders in a high. I mean, the Cardinals are high passing offense as well, but Sanders is probably the 3rd guy on the Bills. He was getting a high volume of targets. He had like 8 targets.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I just kind of went for more of the upside there.
I'm still bullish on Rondale Moore. After I watched the rerun on NFL Network, and when that guy's on the field, it's almost like just like a explosive play. So much waiting to happen. He is, I think, like outside of Tyreek Hill, and like there's a lot of speed guys, but like outside of Tyreek Hill, he's probably the next most electric guy that I think could be like electrifying. There's like I know there's guys like Henry Ruggs, there's guys like Marquise Brown, but they don't give you that pop. Or even on the same team, Mecole Hardman, he doesn't give you that same pop like Tyreek Hill can. Rondale Moore has that it factor, in my opinion.
You know who does have it? Jalen Waddle, who actually scored a touchdown this past
He does too.
Waddle,
he
Waddle.
played really well. He really does.
Waddle.
Hey, Fuller's coming back, so I don't know how much he can look into Waddle. I mean, they might want to get him the ball still because how good he looked, but the target share is going to go down.
Position to monitor, or like I guess the guy to monitor. But I liked what I saw out of Waddle too. But Rondale Moore, I'm buying him more than Kirk. If to answer your first question.
How about Mr. Corey Davis? He had a great week against the Panthers.
Keep him,
what do you guys think?
Guard him. Corey Davis is for real in that offense.
Yeah,
but the offense is so bad. If you guys watch that game,
all the targets.
Yeah, that's the thing. He does get all the targets.
For what I saw, like he just holds onto the ball like so long. Like
what's a rookie?
I know in college, like if you look at his highlights, there's a lot of him like kind of running around, extending plays. Like you can't do that in the NFL as much. So I think he just holds onto the ball too long. But
Corey Davis, you have him, start him. I mean, if he's going to be a flex for you, if he's not a wide receiver 2, if you have him as a wide receiver 2, I could see him being in the top 25 at the end of the year for sure.
100%,
with the volume that he's getting, and then the types when AJ Brown was out of the lineup, he did not miss a beat last year too. So I like him a lot. Corey Davis is for real.
Corey Davis or Devonta Smith? You have to start one.
Corey Davis.
Brian?
Yeah, Corey Davis because Philly has more options.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about James Robinson, actually?
What?
Who did horrible? James Robinson?
Oh, yeah.
James running backs?
Dude.
Yeah. They just did not give him the ball. Like, all they did was just, like, throw it to, like, their wide receivers. Like, they just not give him the ball. People are already saying, like, Urban Meyer should be fired before the season. I said it before, like, Urban Meyer's I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone after the season.
Well, you know what?
You can say Joey's going to say he's a good coach because he coached at Ohio State. But
shots fired.
Just because,
1 week. Like, I mean, I hope he does changes it around. It's 1 week, but I will say the alarming stat. The alarming stat is
already people from Jacksonville came out. Players like unnamed players came out and said like we don't like playing for him and shit like that. He's not a good coach. Like he played at Florida, which is a great college. You're gonna have great players. He had coached at Ohio State. Everyone who coaches at Ohio State's gonna play. Be good. When you come to the NFL, you got to know your X's and O's strategy. You got to inspire these guys. Like, I don't look at Urban Meyer like that. He's trying to run a spread offense like college and put it in the NFL. Have we ever seen that work? No. It's completely different. He brought in Tim Tebow, who hasn't played like in however long, try to bring him in tight end. Like, he's just, it's James Robinson. You guys have like one of the best running backs in the league. You guys draft a first-round running backs. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You have so many holes elsewhere. Like,
you're hurting Joey's feelings right now, man.
I'm just letting him get his air out, man. It's fine.
Like, let me know, like how, like what he's making mistakes constantly. Like, what?
I'm just gonna put out an alarming stat. I just think this is alarming. I mean, 85.4% of the carries last year went to James Robinson. 85%, right? This past week, he only had 35. That's a 50% drop off. I mean, of getting the guy.
Do you have Carlos Hyde?
That was finished as RB7 last year, I think, and also that Travis Etienne went down. You would think that he would just get the same workload. I think the play calling was definitely questionable.
Actually, didn't Carlos Hyde? I could be wrong, but did Carlos Hyde get more carries than him?
I think
I
so.
don't
I think
know
he
the
got
exact
10
number.
Carlos
carries.
Hyde got more carries than James Robinson. Like,
Yeah, it's
you know?
alarming. It's alarming. That's what I'm saying. It's an alarming stat, and I think but you need more than 1 week to go off of. I don't think anybody's been fired after 1 week.
Carlos Hyde played for who in college?
As far as a coach,
Urban Meyer.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I get it, but I mean, if there's familiarity with the system and how to run the plays, I mean, there's a reason why for that. But like, again, you've had an off season to get these guys in position to run your system.
No, you see, that's another thing. I heard their offensive coordinator is a guy who likes like two tight end sets, a lot of motions and stuff like that. Urban Meyer is more widespread, and people said it's a problem.
They don't have the personnel to run 2 tight end sets. They have Chris Manhurts and James O'Shaughnessy.
They're trying to fit 2 different offenses. So sometimes, from what I heard, they'll run like motions, 2 tight end sets, and then like another time they'll have like a whole spread offense. So it's like
literally weird though, because obviously one of the touchdowns went to Chris Manhurts up a seam, so it was a great throw. But like, you're gonna take guys like Marvin Jones, Chenault, and Chark off the field for Manhurts and O'Shaughnessy. I mean, tell the O coordinator to kick rocks, tough toenails, buddy. I want my playmakers out there. I mean,
yeah, but if you believe that as a head coach, why'd you hire him as offensive coordinator? Not only that, wasn't there something with their training coach? Like, he had a problem or some shit with like the players, and then like, do you remember that story?
I don't know. I didn't follow them that much.
There was a problem with like their training staff coach. Like, I don't know. It said like in the past, like some racial slurs to like players in the past, and then like the players like, oh, we don't want this guy as our head trainer, and Urban Meyer was like, oh, too bad, kick rocks, like he's our guy, and then like a lot of players got pissed, and people are like, dude, like a head trainer is not that important, like you're pissing your players off already, and then he got rid of him.
Hey, Brian going hard on Urban Meyer.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I think Brian's bullish on the firing of Urban Meyer. I just think it's a thing to monitor. I agree it is alarming, and I think there's things that we had. I would just hold tight. I wasn't high on Trevor Lawrence this year anyway. I know he's football Jesus to a lot of people, but you know, I think David Carr was football Jesus to the people in Houston too.
We all seen that. Trevor Lawrence, we all seen those memes back in the day. I think like 3 or 4 months ago of like the quarterbacks dressed as girls. I know you saw that, right?
Yeah, I saw that. Trevor Lawrence wasn't the greatest.
Joe, did you see it?
Patrick Mahomes was.
Joe, you had to see it, right? Where they take like the guys' faces and they made them what they. Who would you say was the hottest?
I think
girl?
didn't they just keep Trevor Lawrence the same?
Yeah, they kept the same, or they used the girl from the Ozarks, because that's what he looked. He looked like the girl from Ozark.
I know you guys both agree with me. Jimmy G and Pat Mahomes was the hottest. Who would be the hottest?
Girl wise? Yeah,
girl wise. Jimmy G or Pat Mahomes? Which girl would you take?
I don't know.
I have to look at it again, to be honest.
Oh, come on, guys.
I can't answer that live on air.
I was guessing. I don't know.
I think.
You're gonna make us choose. Fantasy wise, for the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence and that passing offense, I feel like it's good for all those receivers. Marvin Jones, DJ Chark, Chenault, they're gonna get lots of work, and Trevor Lawrence is going to make his mistakes, but he's going to throw for a lot of yards. The defense is horrible. They're going to be passing the ball all game. They're not going to be running it. I like those receivers. I would want one on my team. And if you have one on the team, they're all good flex options, especially DJ Chark, who got 10 targets last game.
I mean, I'm still bullish on Chenault. Brian obviously really wanted him in the trade, but I wasn't giving him up.
I'm just trying to think, like, what you can even get for James Robinson right now. Like, who's some names that
Saquon.
No, I'd rather have Saquon for sure.
But my jabroni of the year.
They're not even utilizing James Robinson. At least Saquon they're going to utilize.
Until he gets to a full workload, but like I'd still have Saquon too. I just like the talent there.
I'm just trying to think of like who's some comparable guys that you can say who would you rather have.
Mark Ingram.
Yeah, everybody's riding Mark Ingram, and I don't buy it anyway. He should get a lot of run, but
carries.
I don't care. Let him have
85 yards.
So James, you rather have James Robinson?
I'd rather have James Robinson.
Upside wise, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 85 yards.
I don't think they're going to do what they did in week 1 every week. I think
Melvin
David Coley
Gordon
was pumping his horn. He's like, yeah, we expect to win every time we go out on the field. I'm like, that's great. but you're most likely going to lose.
Melvin Gordon or James Robinson?
I'd take Melvin. I'd take Melvin because even if he doesn't stay in Denver, he can go to another team and still be productive. Like I'd pick Melvin Gordon.
I like what I saw in Melvin Gordon. I think he's going to hold off Javonte Williams for
a couple more
at
weeks.
least half the season.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire or James Robinson?
Oh, Clyde, yeah.
He's getting all the work. Like I thought Darren Williams would get even short yardage, and they actually kept Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 5-yard line of the red zone. So that was
Damian Harris.
Damian Harris too. I don't care if he lost the fumble. He's getting all the work too.
Thank you.
Tyson Williams or James Robinson?
Tyson.
It's a toss up.
Tyson.
I'm right now. I'd pick Tyson, but he can lose the job any minute. So you never know.
Tyson.
Kenyon Drake or now we're getting into the backups because it's like at this point, Kenyon Drake or James Robinson?
No, James Robinson. That's where you cut it off right there.
Jamal Williams or James Robinson?
I'd rather have. That's a tough one. I think I'd rather have James Robinson.
The fact that you have to think about it between the backup and James Robinson.
I know, right? Hey, you admit he's the backup now. Got you. Jamal Williams is the backup.
I think you don't want to overreact too much. I would still say you got to ride J-Row for a couple more weeks. If he keeps getting only 35% of the carries, yes, you would probably have to take a backup because that's backup carry numbers right there. If anything under 40% is backup because it usually get a 60-40 split in most backfields that have two running backs that you could possibly use, competent running backs, I should say. So, yeah.
Hey, I'm wondering, back to receivers, I'm wondering you guys' thoughts on, he did pretty good. He's not great, but it was worth noting. KJ Osborne from Minnesota.
That was interesting because I thought Conklin was going to be, like, he was my good fella. He had a decent game, but they went to 3 wide sets.
9 targets.
Yeah, they went to 3 wide sets a lot more than the tight end, so it was interesting.
You know who was the guy who didn't have such a good game that I'm kind of interested in trading for is Justin Jefferson.
I don't think people.
He had 9 targets. I mean, he didn't have a great game.
I think he produced like 12 points.
Yeah.
I mean, I would trade for him if someone's willing to trade him. I don't think. I mean, the guy who has him in our league, he also has 5 other Vikings. So I don't think he's willing to trade any Viking players.
Who is the guy that performed not so good this past week that you'd be looking to trade for?
Well, we mentioned Aaron Jones. If Ezekiel Elliott is out there, I mean, I have him, but if someone else wants to put an offer.
I tried. You wouldn't fucking take any. Well, actually,
no. Like, I'm not going to trade him, but if people in other leagues that are watching go make an offer for Zeke, I mean, I'm not dumb enough to trade him.
I don't know about that, man.
That I'm dumb enough for?
Hey, in case the people don't know, the year that Le'Veon Bell sat out the whole season.
You keep mentioning this. No one cares.
This guy right here, actually, no, wrong way. Right there, drafted him first overall. Yeah. Who drafted Bell first overall? Yeah.
I didn't know he was gonna hold out.
Well, I'll say this: Jamar Chase, all the stuff that you kept saying, Joey. I don't know about this Jamar Chase thing. I think that was greatly exaggerated.
Yeah, 5 catches.
I don't care. I think the
Minnesota
guy
had a
looks good at
defense
football.
Last year.
He looks good at football. I'm back in on my preseason take with him.
Oh, so you're back in. So you originally left.
I still have him on teams. I didn't draft him as high as I wanted to. There were times where I could have probably taken him even earlier, and I just didn't pull the trigger there. But I do have him on teams. So, and I have him in baseball too, so I do have shares.
Another guy, maybe some people want to look at who had a bad week, Terry McLaurin. He's someone you could probably offer a trade for. He only had 10 points. PPR, which is really low.
It was between Godwin and McLaurin for your brother to take for Aaron Jones, and he chose Godwin. Even though
that was a good take by him because I feel like Godwin will have a better year now. To be honest.
Oh well, but again, I was saying this. I was like, that Fitzpatrick is not out for the year, right? He is
most likely. He has that hip flexor or whatever that Tua had, and he's like 40 years old. That beard magic's not going to save him. Oh, you're muted. Your mic. Oh no, we're gonna lose Joey. Oh, read your lips, bro. We're live.
Uh,
Anyways, Joey's team sucks, man.
you know what's
McLaurin.
funny? Like we were talking about McLaurin, and McLaurin went to Ohio State, and then Joey started speaking. So I'm like, great, another. He's gonna talk like about another Ohio State player, and then luckily it shut him up. It's like we don't want to hear this shit about Ohio State.
All right, let's try to wrap this up then since we lost Joey. Who else do you want to mention before we end? Let's go to tight ends real quick.
Yeah, Darren Waller got like fucking 45 targets.
Like 500 targets. TJ Hawkinson did great. I knew he was going to get most of the targets on the team. We talked about him earlier. He's the number one receiver. Joey, can you hear us? No, we can't hear you still. Anyways, let's keep going. Hey, what do you think of Juwan Johnson? 2 touchdowns?
Hey, you want to just talk shit about the Raiders and Ohio State since Joey can't say anything?
Maybe we should. Who else is on Joey's team?
He just got.
Mention a few more tight ends, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yo, do you feel like Darren Waller should have been a first round pick? I told you should have gotten him.
You know what? I'm happy what I did because I was able to get Ridley and then get Hawkinson later. Yeah, Waller is better. I'm not going to say Hawkinson's better than Waller, but I'd rather have Ridley and Hawkinson.
Yeah, but if you look at some of the 5th round receivers, like I mean, there's a lot of good ones still in the 4th and 5th round. Adam Thielen.
Was he there in the 5th?
I think he was in our league. Jamar Chase, I think, was in the 5th round. Higgins was in the 5th round.
I mean, I'd rather have Ridley.
Yeah, but
I'd rather have a Ridley Hawkinson than a Waller Thielen, to be honest.
All they do is throw the wall.
Actually, Hawkinson had more points. He had more fantasy points. Even with all those targets, Hawkinson had more fantasy points.
You know, when we play Madden and like a certain guy is just, catching or you're throwing to that guy every time, at some point I'm just going to double team him. I don't understand how, like, in real NFL, they just don't think of that. Like, as a fan,
they were double teaming him, and Carr was still forced to pass to him. He still forced it. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, we were watching the game, me and Andrew. Hey, we mentioned Andrew. Go ahead, make fun of him. He was like, give it a Ruggs, or whatever, Edwards. And they would be wide open in the middle.
Yeah.
And they just still forced it to Waller, who's covered by like 2 guys. It's unbelievable. That's what Carr does. He doesn't look anywhere else. Who else had a pretty good week as far as tight ends? Kelsey, of course.
You know what gets on my nerves about Carr is how he just tries to be so positive. Just gets on my nerves. Like they talk about like Zay Jones. Man, Zay Jones, 6 a.m, always working out. Great guy. How about Gruden? Love Gruden. That's my coach. I'd rather retire.
Yeah, like it's like be genuine, dude. Not everyone's a great guy. You know, there's some people who are not great guys. Just say it, Carr. It makes him not a genuine person.
You know who speaking of Andrew, I feel like every time Derek Carr kind of changes look, Andrew changes look along with him. Like, have you noticed like how like Andrew he kind of looks like a Trevor.
Yeah, man. He's always looking like Carr. Like Carr shaves, Andrew shaves.
Yeah, I know.
Carr grows a beard, Andrew grows a beard. Unbelievable. He kind of looks like him. He kind of acts like him.
He
too.
looks like a chubbier
Very
version.
annoying.
And he's so like sometimes like Andrew just is so positive, you know.
Stop being so positive, man.
Yeah, he's just so like positive and shit like that.
Yeah, except for when the Raiders were about to in overtime, you should have saw him, man. He was so negative. He's like, "We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose. They're not gonna get the first." I'm like, "Wow, this is the first time I've seen you so negative."
Did you see the all the memes of like Raiders fans after the Ravens game?
What Raiders fans?
It showed like fucking like 20 it showed a meme of like 20 high school dropouts just all hanging out with each other partying.
It's the best day of their life.
And it showed all these people in prison throwing a party out.
Raiders.
Oh, man.
You know what sucks? They're not gonna be that great this year. I mean, they had a good game. I say
Ravens are down to like their 10th string running back, like
corners. Anyways, enough about the Raiders. Any other tight end that you want to mention that had a bad week that might do good?
As I said
George
before,
Kittle.
when during our previous tight end episode, I said Pitts is a guy you want to trade for later down the season. Tight ends typically start off slow, rookie tight ends, and he's not going to do so good in the first couple of games. And after those first couple of games, then you want to go out and trade for him when he gets a little bit of experience on his belt. So if anyone is lacking in the tight end, I'll probably give it like about another week or two, and then just go ahead and send an offer for Pitts. He had a good amount of targets, I think it was like 8 targets or something like that, if I remember.
Yeah, he had a good amount of targets. I
yeah,
think it was tied with Ridley for 8 targets, so it was tied for the team lead. Another guy you might want to look at who's probably on your waivers is who got a good amount of targets. He didn't have a great game because Juwan Johnson stole the touchdowns, but Adam Trotman, he had
a crazy amount of targets.
Yeah, so that's something you really need to look at. And Winston didn't throw that much. Imagine a game where it's a positive, game script, and they're passing the ball. Adam Trotman is very interesting.
I mean, he did like OJ Howard, like Cameron Brate, he supported like tight ends before in Tampa Bay. It's crazy because Adam Trotman was like a real hot name like during the preseason with fantasy. Then he got injured and just no one ever thought about him again.
Yeah, I was thinking about him during the draft if I didn't get my boy Hawkinson. I was looking at Higbee and
I like Higbee. Higbee I really like.
Yeah, he's interesting.
Speaking of the Rams, actually,
jeez, how many times has this? How long? What the hell?
Oh, what the hell?
Did you hear us talk that trash?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My goodness, man! I was sitting in the waiting room for like 5 minutes. You just kept running.
Oh, my bad. We were just going at it, man.
Jesus, man! Look at your phones. Be professional. Says the guy who has camera issues.
He's so angry because we were talking shit about the Ohio State and Raiders.
Not even that. No, not even that. You guys are just like giving the facade of what's happening in the game. Come on now. There's a scheme to everything. Yeah, he's threw a couple. Look, the Ravens are a tough defense. Okay, Ravens are a tough defense.
Yeah. Without their top
once you saw him get used to make the halftime adjustments, they got used to everything, the rub routes and all that stuff. They got guys open, and then he got everybody else involved. I mean, if you're in trouble, are you going to go to Henry Ruggs? Are you going to go to Bryan Edwards? Are you going to go to Darren Waller?
Yeah, but Darren Waller is like getting double teamed. There's like a guy.
Yeah, he would be double covered, and there'd be a guy right in the middle.
Wide open.
Hold on a second. There was only one play where he missed Henry Ruggs. It was like the second or third play of the game before the Mariota run, where he missed Henry Ruggs. It was definitely 6. He completely missed him. He pointed out to Ruggs as soon as he threw the ball. Like he knew he missed it. The other throws. There was a couple of errant throws that got tipped at the line that should have been picked also that went to Waller, and that's the reason why it looked like 3 people were around the ball. Trust me, I'm around all these people that throwing hate down at Carr. I'm like, there's a reason why I'm in the 300 section so I can see everything.
He also missed Waller wide open on the right. You saw that, right? And
there's throws he missed, but there's a lot of quarterbacks that miss throws. There's that, but like
not Tua.
It's like you're targeting him 20 times a game. And then for that one throw, you miss him. We could have got.
Here's the thing: he only caught 10 of the 19 targets, and there was about 3 or 4 egregious drops. Egregious drops by Waller. He was wide open, and he just drops the ball. There was so uncharacteristic of him to drop so many balls like that were so catchable. And then there was about
he did have some
4 or 5, and there were other 4 or 5 that were bad throws of the 19 targets. So.
All right, any tight end you want to mention, Joey, before we end this? Because we're running on time here.
Well, I mean, I thought we were going to do the whole let people know who won the 3-man DFS.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
I took down that one. We're going to do that every week.
I was close.
I wish someone had the. Does anybody have their DraftKings up? They can pull it up. If not, it's okay. Just take my word for it. But I don't
want to mention my DraftKings. I had what really screwed me over was Ryan Tannehill. I had him everywhere, literally, and I had him in 2 leagues I'm in, and my DraftKings, and I lost on all of them because of Ryan Tannehill. I blame you, but he'll bounce back. He's one of those guys that will bounce back.
1, 2, 3. There's 32. There's 16 games. I guess Brian and I went 8-8, and Yosef went 7-9 as far as our pick'ems. I think that's there's 16 games, right? 32 teams. Yeah. So
you know what we got to do?
That's pretty bad, Brian. We only had 8 wins. each, even though Joseph did finish third.
Yeah,
again.
that Niners Lions one killed me. But you know what we got to do? We got to go with one game. We got to go with the upset special.
We should have that.
I already got my upset special. Lions over Packers.
Jesus, that's bold. That's bold.
Yeah, well, we'll give ours on the next one as we get closer to the weekend. But we each got to have a upset special, and that's going to be – we can have it separate than what our regular pick'em games are. Upset specials, I feel like it's kind of hard.
It counts as 2 points.
Yeah, that's what we can go with.
Okay, we can do that. I just want to cover real quick on the Goodfellas and Jabronis. The start sits are the people that we liked or did not like going into the week. Joseph, 3 out of 4. Brian also went 3 out of 4. I had 1 extra, but my percentage went down. I was only 3 out of 5. But solid, I guess, fantasy football content coming from the Mafia. So come back each and every week. Subscribe to Fantasy Football Mafia. Oh.
Yeah, that's why you got to stay tuned, because we're giving you guys the insight. Imagine you were listening to that stream and you got our starts and our sits. We could have helped you win your league, even though I lost. But if I
you'll sacrifice your wins and losses for the masses.
I sacrifice for you guys. That's what I do. That's what we do in the Mafia. And you guys had great weeks. Props to you guys. Highest scoring in the league. I think you two were the highest scoring in the.
How many points did you score, Joey?
I don't remember, dude. I have 8 leagues, man. You think I can remember that?
And Joey's winning in all of them. That's
no, actually, I went 6 and 2. I went 6 and 2. That's still a good week. I'm very happy with that.
Nice.
I do.
Man, more than 2 leagues is a lot.
It is a lot.
At that point, you're just rooting for everyone in the NFL.
That's why you have to draft according to your list, so that way when you where you're at in your draft.
McLaurin, McCaffrey.
No,
this guy with Ohio State. This guy's a Raider. I'm gonna get the backup.
So actually, I wrote out all my teams, so that way I kind of have a checklist. I don't have to go through all my tabs and open up different tabs every single time. I actually have like a book I can look at. And I have Tyreek Hill a lot as my first pick, regardless of where I was drafting, except for being first. I drafted him as high as 5th in one league, another one I was 6th, and then other ones I was 10th and 11th, and I still had Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, but the problem is when you're in that many leagues, like you'll have Tyreek Hill, and then you'll go against someone who has Tyreek Hill. So then when you're rooting for him, but then when he scores, you're like, oh fuck, like my opponent has him in another league. That's why it kind of gets no fun, because like you'll have some players, and then the guy you're going against.
I get that, Brian. I have him in. I think the 2 leagues that I lost, I didn't have Tyreek Hill. So there's your answer. So I have him in 6 leagues out of the 8. So I don't really have to worry about that too much.
I don't know. I feel like 2 is like a real good amount.
Okay, this is not about you like thinking of how many fantasy teams you can manage. If I can manage 8 and be successful, we'll see what happens. I only manage.
No, it's not about managing. It's just like at that point, it's just like you're rooting for so many people. You know?
I try to keep my teams consistent. That's my point I'm trying to make to you.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's like in this draft, you're picking first overall. And like another one, you can be picking last. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Some leagues I don't matter as much as more. That'd be good. There's different dollar amounts to look at here. Come on now, Brian.
Which one actually? Now that he brings it up, which one's more important? The money that you win or the pride? Like you beat some fucking guys.
Oh, there's a couple people like you. There's like groups of people where like you get crap when you lose in the league, and there's other ones that whatever. This is
in this league, money doesn't matter
what the dollar amount is.
Really.
I'm trying to beat you two more than anything.
I said it before. I take it personal. Anyone I play, I want to be better than them at one thing, and that's football and knowing football. And I want to be better than anyone in the league at fantasy. And it's all about pride. The money is just extra.
It's funny. I think when I won the championship
gambling on this page anyway.
When I won the championship like 2 years ago, what was it, like
3 years ago, 4 years ago, maybe?
Whatever it was.
Maybe 5 years ago.
I texted Joseph like a picture of my dinner. I'm like, thanks for paying for my dinner, bitch. This is for the championship winning. And then I had my girlfriend text Joseph too. I was like, oh, thanks for the meal for losing. Brian won the championship.
Yeah, and that's what fueled the fire. And that's why I won last year, because that kind of stuff motivates me, So do that to your buddies if you want to motivate them.
I will say that I would like to see more last place punishments in the leagues that I'm in, because I feel that's always a problem with leagues where people just like, they're finishing last and they don't have they don't want to.
Our last place has to pay double, so.
That's stupid though. It's like the ESPN The Body magazine where like athletes are like butt naked and they're like posing but they're covering themselves up a little bit.
Why do you want to see people naked?
No, so
I know
one
you
of
want
the
to see me naked.
No, so one league, the guy who came in last place actually had to take photos like that. So he's like butt
Yeah,
naked,
there's
posting
like
with
a-
like the football, and like people took pictures of him.
There's legit punishments for finishing last, and I
Yes,
think
tattoos.
that would deter like tanking, and like what a lot of people in leagues have a problem with is trading with last place teams. But like if there was a deterrent at the bottom, like, well, I don't want to finish last, so I'm not going to trade like my whole team away or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's before a deadline, either make it sooner or make it a last place penalty so you don't have to worry about these kind of integrity issues with your league. But I mean, that's for another day. I mean, we want to talk about trade vetoes and things like that later, but we'll get to
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. Next episode, we are gonna do our starts and sits once again. We're gonna review week 2 and
do our
get
pick 'em.
into that. We're gonna do our picks again, our sleeper picks, as well as pick'ems and all of that good stuff. So stay tuned, subscribe.
Never mind. Go ahead. I'll finish it up.
Yeah, stay tuned, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you on the next one. Any last words, guys?
Yosef's the only one.
Yosef is maybe Yosef will do his Thursday night shout outs for the showdown again too. I don't know.
Yeah, I will. We'll do our DFS picks for Thursday and put that up tomorrow. So stay tuned. And if you have any start and sit questions, make sure you comment on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, any of those social medias. We'll put the links in the descriptions.
All of it.
Yeah, AOL, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Peace out.
Later.